incomparable words of Al Swearingen, welcome to fucking Deadwood. This is the second episode of Who Was Real Deadwood Edition. Starting off with James Butler Wild Bill Hickok. Wild Bill was one of the most famous gunfighters, gamblers, and sheriffs in Western lore. Even during his time, he was extremely well known and somewhat of a celebrity. We don't know his exact body count, but it is believed he killed at most 7 men over his career as a gunfighter. Some rumors propagated by sensationalists at the time, and sometimes Wild Bill himself, said he killed over 100 men. We may never know for sure, but it is doubtful that this count was more than 7. By the time Hickok came to Deadwood, he was a shell of his former self. He was tired and was fully involved in gambling, specifically poker games in the growing gold camps in the West. At the time of his death in 1876, Hickok looked much older than his 39 years of age. His tough life and lifestyle had finally caught up with him. Shortly before his murder, he was married to Agnes Thatcher Lake, who lived in Kansas. On the day of August 2, 1876, Hickok sat down to play poker at the No. 10 Saloon in Deadwood. He would traditionally sit with his back to the wall so that he could see who was coming through the door. However, on this day, the only chair available would have his back to the door. Jack McCall, who had run into Hickok on the poker table, came in through the door and shot Wild Bill in the back of the head. McCall fled out the back door of the saloon and was captured shortly after. When Hickok was shot, he was allegedly holding an 8 of clubs, 8 of spades, ace of clubs, and an ace of spades, which became known as the Dead Man's Hand. Hickok was laid to rest in Mount Moriah Cemetery in Deadwood. He was portrayed by Keith Carradine. In my opinion, this casting was spot on. While Hickok was only 39, having him portrayed by an older actor was a deliberate decision. Carradine portrays Wild Bill as a man who came to Deadwood thinking this would be his last camp. Throughout the few episodes he was featured, Hickok frequently references that he will most likely die in the camp. And in just a sec, I will revisit Jack McCall. The character of Saul Starr was portrayed by John Hawkes. Saul was born on December 20th, 1840, in Germany to a Jewish family. At the age of 10, the Starr family left their native Bavarian roots and emigrated to the United States, specifically Ohio. As a young man, Starr had moved to Helena, Montana. His entrance into government and business occurred in this time period as he served as an auditor and secretary to the then Montana Territorial Governor. It is in Montana where Saul Starr and Seth Bullock met. Throughout the series and real life, Bullock and Starr were close confidants and business partners. They started a hardware business in Helena. As the town of Deadwood was becoming established, Starr and Bullock decided to move their operations to the quickly growing gold camp in the Dakota Territory. In the series, Bullock and Starr cross paths with Al Swearingen. Swearingen, who is the real crime boss in Deadwood and operated out of the Gem Saloon. Starr and Bullock purchased land from Swearingen both in real life and the show. In the series, Al was hesitant to sell land to the two as he felt they were setting up a competing business. This acrimony caused Seth Bullock and Swearingen to become bitter rivals. Al would often throw anti-Semitic remarks at Starr. However, Saul would always remain cool under pressure and try to bring Bullock around to complete the deal. In real life, however, it seems the relationship between the three was never hostile. Saul translated his political experience he gained to Montana to his prominence in Deadwood. In 1876, he was elected Deadwood's first town council and served as first postmaster in 1877. By 1884, he had been elected mayor of Deadwood. Upon statehood, Saul Starr was elected as a state representative for South Dakota. Even though Deadwood burned down in 1894, it did not chase Starr out of town. In fact, he contributed to the infrastructure of the town by partnering again with Seth Bullock to build a luxury hotel. The hotel would give legitimacy to Deadwood, despite its unfortunate burning shortly thereafter. Starr passed away in 1917 as one of Deadwood's most important citizens. In the series, Saul plays a calm partner to Seth Bullock's volatile nature. Additionally, he never succumbed to anger while being attacked with an anti-Semitic remark from Al Swearingen. He was also not afraid to stand up to him. While courting Swearingen's top lady of the night, Trixie, he ultimately got Swearingen's blessing to continue their relationship. Moving along to two of the most fascinating characters in Deadwood, Francis Wolcott and Jack McCall. Interestingly enough, Wolcott and McCall were both played by actor Garrett Dillahunt. Dillahunt was brought back to play George Hurst's flawed geological surveyor after his performance as Jack McCall in Season 1. Francis Wolcott was not a real person, amalgamation of several potential people. His character was the prototype of a Western serial killer. Each camp he went to, his sexual depravities would unravel into a murderous rage. It is even mentioned by Hearst as had to pay off several people to keep Wolcott's deeds under wraps. Wolcott was professionally very brutal in bringing stray mining camps under the sway of his employer George Hurst. It is never explicitly said how many people Wolcott has killed, but we do know it was a known issue. Ultimately, he attacks and kills one of his favorite ladies that has followed him to Deadwood, as well as Jody Stubbs' mentor, Maddie. Wolcott eventually takes his own life. While Wolcott was fictional and portrayed as a calculating killer and surveyor, the other character Dillahunt portrayed played a more important role earlier in the series. Jack McCall is known by nothing more than the killer of Wild Bill Hickok. Throughout the first episodes of the series, Wild Bill plays McCall frequently in poker and oftentimes defeated him. Throughout the first episodes of the series, Wild Bill plays McCall frequently in poker and oftentimes defeated him, even lashing a profanity-laced attack on McCall that likely sent Jack on a course for murder. Wild Bill took pity on Jack at one point after he beat him in a game to give him some money to get a meal and sober up. To this, Jack McCall scowls that he does not need Hickok's charity. As we discussed earlier, Hickok on August 2, 1876, went to play poker at the No. 10 Saloon. He uncharacteristically sat with his back to the door. McCall burst in without saying a word and blasted Hickok in the back of the head, killing him instantly. McCall then ran out of the back of the saloon and into the alley where he was captured and beat up. The murder, as portrayed in the show itself, is likely pretty accurate. The town, however, was reluctant to charge him with murder, because in the story, Al Swearingen does not want the town to gain legitimacy by passing a guilty verdict and stacks the books so McCall is acquitted. Additionally, a fictitious story about Hickok killing McCall's brother in Abilene, Kansas, is brought up as justification for the homicide. However, McCall is eventually captured by Seth Bullock and Charlie Utter and taken to Yankton in the Dakota Territory to be officially arrested and charged. His real death is not portrayed on screen. In real life, McCall bragged anywhere he could that he shot Wild Bill in a fair fight. Due to the fact that his first trial was not considered legal, as Deadwood was not recognized as a legal camp at the time, the verdict was declared to not stand. During the second trial, McCall claimed he was drunk and didn't remember the cowardly murder. He also claimed that McCall was not his real name. The judge did not seem to care about his extensive stories and excuses and sentenced him to death. McCall was hanged on March 1, 1877 in Yankton. Throughout the town of Deadwood, there are reminders of the exact spots where McCall killed Hickok and where he was captured. The murder of Hickok put Deadwood on the map as one of the West's most notorious towns, and from a show perspective, created one of the most important scenes and moments in the series. Thank you for joining me in this episode of Everything Has History. This is part 2 of Who Was Real in Deadwood. If you have not seen part 1, please go back and give it a watch. I will see you on the next Everything Has History.